Hey, how's it going? No one should watch this. I heard feelings can be somehow more truthful than thoughts. So I feel loving and I want to hug and help anyone listening. It's true, but I feel kind of bitter and I want to stab at and drag people down too a little. But I feel more like loving. But I also feel kind of hopeless and deadened and tired. And so I want to drum up something that makes me feel alive and creative and fun. Those are the main feelings I'm feeling right now. And that's kind of typical. Anyway, uh, very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. John 15:49. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Lao Tzu. God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. Austin 3:16. Love never fails. Corinthians and Luke 15:4. Unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing is ever going to get better. It's just not. Dr. Seuss. Anyway, it's not just you or me. This is a new thing. I'm saying a new thing now. Dude, it's not just you or me. It's largely the Times, and the whole country is going through some common stuff, dude. It's not just you and me. It's the whole world kind of is going through some stuff. Yeah, I found out that like over 80% of Americans today report that political debates and stuff like that has become more negative and less fact-based, with cross-party anonymity reaching record highs where opposing groups view each other not just as incorrect, but threats to their existence or the nation or something. What does that mean? It means that a lot of people today, just so you know, like it's not just me and you. If you're going through these like little things, this is like a worldwide sort of thing that's causing the world some problems. And it's nice to know that, we're not alone. A lot of people, like myself included, are in kind of echo chambers and they're bolstering their sides, whether their side is like gender or race or your political beliefs or just beliefs about stuff in general, like nihilism or God or whatever. And then they kind of say these things, and what happens is they kind of are mean to people who don't, like, it feels mean to people who don't agree, but then it also kind of like reinforces it because you know that people who follow you kind of like support you, and so you can get sort of like, we're sort of getting further away, kind of like the stars. Supposedly the stars are all sort of getting further away, and that's not really so good. And so that's creating loneliness. Like right now, surveys show that the average time that Americans spend with social like friends has declined. Like basically the amount of time that people are spending with like real life people has declined by 50% over the last few decades, with nearly half of young adults reporting frequently of feeling lonely and a lack of meaningful social support. So basically, like, I don't know. I think jujitsu, people don't like unsolicited advice. There's a lot of ways to combat this. I should do them myself. Really, I should probably go to therapy because a lot of people who care about me are saying I should go to therapy. I should do that. But also I hear that like, kind of I should go to the dog park. Dog park's a good way to be among people. And then there's meetups. I used to go to and then jujitsu, dude. I know people don't like unsolicited advice. I'm kind of too old for jiu-jitsu, and I got kind of injured. But dude, jiu-jitsu is actually kind of a cool thing if you have the money for it. What do I want to say about jiu-jitsu? That's pretty much it. What else? I heard that the Federal Reserve and real estate tracking indicates that the average national home price relative to the median entry salaries has made housing affordability the lowest it's been in decades, forcing delayed marriages and contributing to historic lows in U.S. birth rates. What does that mean? Just, we're probably doing as good or better than our parents in a lot of ways, but our current circumstances don't show it. And that's kind of true for everybody. Like my brother's doing great. Like he's making like six figures and he's like a senior level like engineer, but like he still doesn't have a house, or like his circumstances aren't nearly as good as my parents. He said that. He said like, dude, I'm like kicking ass compared to mom, but mom was doing way better because she lived in the 60s and the 80s. And so that's kind of a thing, is like if you're like hard on yourself because you're like, God, like I'm not doing as good as my parents. Everybody's not doing as good as their parents, because our parents had like a way easier life. Like my mom, she moved to San Francisco with no job, no nothing, and she just lived on somebody's couch. And she got a job at Macy's, and then pretty soon she had a house. She could like live in San Francisco just from a little retail job at Macy's and get a house eventually, which is like unheard of today. Like nobody can really, so it's fine. Just, it's a lot harder now. Don't be so hard on yourself. Anyway, that's a good thing to think. What else? I guess I can kind of go on about like, nobody wants to hear about jiu-jitsu. Maybe there's no free will. Do I want to talk about that? Yeah. What am I thinking? I don't know. I just think this is kind of what I think is like, I was thinking this is like, maybe like, this is kind of dramatic. I should, also another thing that's kind of useful to anybody's watching this is like when one of the things that's causing like a lot of like, I don't know, basically a lot of problems I think are probably just coming from like people in echo chambers saying things that are kind of one-sided or not the full truth. And I think that a good solution to that could be like real-time fact-checking from large language models. I think there might be a lot of technological solutions in the near future that could make the world a lot better. Like I hear that like Elon Musk says in like the next 3 years, we might have like more machines than humans. Like Elon Musk is making these like robots, which supposedly might start to do a lot of the labor. He says like, you know what I figured out yesterday? This is kind of weird. Nobody should watch this, but like, I figured out that like it's not like money that like really makes things better. Like money doesn't necessarily like mean anything without the production of goods and services, which is basically the main things are like food production, shelter, and like supplies, specifically like medical supplies. Those are kind of what actually make like life better. But really like a lot of those might be produced for free from machines. So that could like reduce a lot of jobs. But really like you don't, if enough of that happen, like basically long story short, Elon Musk's, and I think this might be kind of true, we'll see, but basically Elon Musk is working on these like humanoid robots, and he says that there's going to be probably like a tipping point once robots can produce more robots. You might just kind of have robots that can like do everything, and so that might actually be kind of good, because we might actually not even really need jobs, and it's like we might have like a future of abundance. And I kind of hope things are going that direction. I think everybody kind of like hopes things might go that direction. But, you know, also like the robots might kind of phase out humanity. So basically, let's try to like look on the bright side, is like, that's what I'm trying to do, is just being like, yeah, like, you know, that's kind of likely what will happen is like, they already have robots, and the robots are kind of getting smarter. And so I like that. It's kind of a cool idea that basically like you don't really need money. What you need is like what money does, which is basically goods and services, and like, you know, machines. Actually, if you ask ChatGPT, it says that that's kind of always been happening, is like technology has always been kind of creating more abundance because it's more efficiently producing goods and services. And if that happens enough, you don't even really need money anymore, which is kind of a weird idea. I don't know. Can I talk about this? Yeah, this is kind of a trippy idea. I'm kind of fascinated with it, but I looked this up. Basically, I looked up something on ChatGPT yesterday that basically nobody should watch. I'm just rambling now. But like, my general understanding, I asked ChatGPT, like, how come trillionaires don't just sort of like give away all their money? And they said, well, that wouldn't really fix the problem, because first of all, most of their money is like wrapped up in stocks. And like a lot of middle class people are actually making money off of those stocks. So their $1 trillion is actually making money for like the middle class. If they sold all that, a lot of middle class people would lose money because the stock values would go down, which would be bad for the economy. And then if you just kind of gave a lot of people, currently because we don't have robots doing all the jobs, if you give people lots of money, but it doesn't result in the production of goods and services, it's actually kind of bad for the economy. Like basically, I don't know, this is my general understanding. I can't really get my head around it. Maybe smarter economist type people understand the way it works, but it's kind of like, this is the way I see it, is like there's like a big there's like a big wheel of like machinery that's like the production of goods and services. Like there's trucks, and there's people like paving the streets and giving like medical examinations. They're rendering goods and services. They're doing agriculture, pulling crops from the ground, delivering food to us, and then building houses and doing plumbing and like shit that we need. So what makes people do that supposedly is the transfer of money. Because when people sort of give each other money, they're like, hey, I'll give you money if you go fix my toilet, and you can give me money if I go raise some crops for you. So that's money isn't just like if you give money back and forth and there's no production of goods and services, money becomes sort of like meaningless, which is a weird idea. It's like the idea that like if people just kind of go, here's some money and I'm going to do nothing for you, and here's some money and you do nothing for me, that defeats the purpose. Like the whole purpose should be that like when you give money back and forth, people like do work. And so that kind of tells me that I should get like a fucking job, because what really kind of makes the economy better or just life better is like if people like do things for other people. And so I'm sitting in here basically getting free money, and I'm not doing anything for like humanity. I'm not contributing to like, I'm not giving any goods or services for anybody else, and that's not really good. And so I'm trying to think of things more in those terms about like, how can I be useful, or like, you know, what good can I do for like other people? I don't know. It's kind of fucked up though, because I used to be good at like art, like realistic depiction of faces, and what I'm good at is like now being done by machines. Like a lot of the jobs are kind of like going away. For my specific type of art that I was good at, machines are starting to just be like, we got it, Sean, we don't need you to render like realistic head models because we can just scan it with like a machine. And so what's the point? I don't know. I'm basically thinking like, what else am I good for? I'm not good socially. Nobody seems to like these videos. Maybe I'm good for, I feel like I'm naturally good at like boring, tedious labor, repetitive, tedious labor that like nobody else wants to do, but I'm not really good socially. So basically I have to like find a job where it's like, what good am I to like society? Maybe I can like bag groceries. I'm really bad socially though. Anyway. Okay. So anyway, what else? So on that note, I should really like apply to jobs. I'll apply to jobs in a second. What do I want to say? I don't know. I want to explore this like weird idea. Actually, so first of all, let's like check my bullshit. What was I was going to say that like I think that there might be some new technologies in the future that could make like the world a lot better. We'll see what they are. I think you could certainly say that. I think you could certainly say like technology has always kind of made a lot of aspects of like life better, particularly for like safety and, longevity. Is like medicine is probably going to get like, there's probably going to be like things that will make it so we can live longer. But I hope that like, basically I kind of hope that like there'll be some technologies that kind of reduce the loneliness. Like maybe, this is my theory, I could be wrong, but my theory is that like when people might get more into like, this is my theory. My theory is that like a lot of loneliness and hostility right now is could be solved by kind of like more transparency and less anonymity. Like right now, people like me, we can kind of say all these nasty things because we're not like face to face with people. You can just kind of like lob some mean things into the void, and maybe that might be fixed if there's some kind of like holograms or something. Maybe if we have like augmented reality and there's kind of like virtual people around, or just some kind of like social credit system or some kind of like blockchain accountability where it's like you can't just like say nasty things to like you can just kind of lob shit into the void, and it's causing like a lot of like meanness. And so that seems like, I hope I don't know, basically I hope there's some kind of solution to that in the future. What else? Just there's probably going to be like a lot of things that are going on right now I feel like could be solved. I don't know what I'm talking about totally, but like in the future we'll probably have real-time large language models. So right now if I say a bunch of bullshit, or if anybody says a bunch of bullshit, if you can just kind of put that bullshit or whatever they say into these large language models, you can kind of get fact checking. Like, I settle this shit, I say it like it's the truth or something like that. But if I should really have it checked. Like a lot of people are in echo chambers saying these kind of like one-sided takes, and they don't hear, they kind of like say, now hear this, and then they say about like a bunch of one-sided bullshit, or maybe even total bullshit, lies, and then they just kind of go, well, gotta go. And so like people hear it and they go, is that true? So that's making for like a lot of like conspiracy theory, like people just kind of like saying one-sided arguments. But in the near future, once these large language models can kind of just work in real time, people will kind of probably have that. They'll probably have some kind of like devices available on their phone or on some like augmented reality glasses that can kind of go like, actually, that's bullshit. That's true. Here's the real facts. So that'll kind of potentially solve a lot of this. Because like when somebody goes on here and says, I think there's not really any proof for a soul or something like that, the thing will say, well, it's not totally true. Or it is true. So it'll be harder to just kind of say one-sided bullshit because you'll have this thing that says, yeah, here's the other side of that argument. And so that'll be kind of cool. What's the point? Anyway, in the meantime, you can kind of do this. Is like, what's one point? I'm going to just do this. It's like, this is going to be kind of boring, but I'm basically just going to like fact check some of my bullshit. It's like, what did I just say? Well, we can check that. We can say like, hey, I just said a lot of things on here in some unexamined way, and I want to fact check myself. And so one thing I'd like to fact check is like, I don't know, doesn't it seem like likely? Well, first of all, I want to fact check like, is it true that like money isn't really necessarily good or meaningful without the production of goods and services, namely like most importantly food production, like housing production, shelter production, and like supplies, specifically supplies that like keep people alive, infrastructure stuff like paving the streets, light, medical supplies, water, plumbing, stuff like that. And then so like basically like just kind of like that's the important thing. That's kind of what makes life better. And so basically if money goes back and forth between people without it being reflected by some kind of like production of goods and services, that's not necessarily good. Actually, that's kind of bad. It makes money value go down. That tends to create like inflation. And so really like what's important is like getting production of goods and services. But in the near future, it seems likely that like we're going to have machines more and more. We have been having machines produce those kind of essential goods and services more and more. And so really, if you just had machines that could produce all those goods and services and also produce more machines and maintain machines, it could kind of eliminate the need for money. Are those true, or is that an oversimplification? I know it's probably like an oversimplification to some degree, but is it like mostly true? I ask the machine. The machine's like, yes, you should let me replace all of your goods and services. Okay.
Economic.
All right, so it's mostly true that money isn't meaningful without the production of essential goods and services. It's plausible in theory that machines are increasingly producing essential goods and services. If machines can produce all the essentials and make more machines and maintain themselves, it could eliminate the need for money. Plausible in theory, but requires extreme economic restructuring. So the oversimplification is eliminating money entirely. That's oversimplified. Well, survival money could vanish. Mechanisms for allocating finite resources, land, energy, unique items, would likely still be required in some form. So then maybe they won't totally get rid of money. So does that seem to indicate that like there'll probably be, so what you're kind of saying is that like what I said is largely true, but like probably what will happen is that if things keep going the way they are in some kind of positive way, the need for basic stuff like just basic food, property, housing, and like energy could become kind of free in some kind of like universal basic income way. Like people might have just like some basic like tiny house, if nothing else. Like if you can't find a job, it's cool. Here's a tiny house. Here's like enough food. Here's like enough energy and some kind of basic stuff. But then if you want some kind of like plush stuff, or if you really want to be one of the real movers and shakers, you gotta compete, and there'll be money that reflects that kind of higher more impactful echelons of stuff. Is that a likely scenario?
The plausibility of post-scarcity high.
So that's, so yeah, maybe.
Yes, that scenario is a highly logical and widely respected roadmap for how an automated economy could bridge the gap between mass abundance and human incentive.
Does that seem likely? Does it seem likely in the next 5 or 10 years? And then if it has some like significant roadblocks, what are those? Anyway, I'm just contemplating the void. I'm contemplating my navel. You shouldn't watch this.
Feasibility and
It's unlikely to be fully complete in the next 5 to 10 years. Anyway. So I better get a fucking job. Anyway, I gotta apply to jobs. Do I want to read this? Yeah, I do want to read this. You shouldn't watch this though. I'm just kind of wasting time. From this point on, I'm just using the video to like get myself to do a bunch of reading that I wouldn't have the discipline to do otherwise. So you shouldn't watch this. I'm just kind of wasting time in some self-indulgent way. All right. Don't watch this. If society attempts to move forward this automated timeline of the next day, it will hit several massive friction points. The physical supply chain and energy bottleneck. Software can replicate instantly, but physical atoms take time to move. Building millions of automated agriculture units, modular homes, and humanoid maintenance robots requires massive amounts of raw material, lithium, copper, rare earths, and immense electrical grid capacity. The reality, even if AI figures out how to build everything autonomously tomorrow, manufacturing the physical factories, microchips, and heavy machinery takes years and faces severe supply chain constraints. So, there's only so much raw material. Anyway, political and institutional resistance. The rentier economy. Much of the existing global wealth is tied up in artificial scarcity, especially land ownership, real estate, and intellectual property. Landlords and legacy corporations do not profit from things becoming free. So there's like owners who are like fuck that, we need things to not be free. Transitioning to so there's like incentive, I guess, from owners and powerful people to be like, can't just make things free. Transitioning to a model where housing and energy is guaranteed requires radical political shifts like heavy automation taxes, land value taxes, or government-backed infrastructure. Powerful economic interests will heavily lobby to preserve asset values and rent-seeking behaviors, fighting against goods dropping to zero cost. So there's like owners who are like, fuck that, we need to have the power. The power seeks the power. I don't know. We'll see. The employment to survival shock. And also, I should check my own, like I'm saying stuff. I should check if my like little summaries are accurate. I like this like large language model because I can kind of like say some shit, and then I can say, so is what you're saying this? Anyway, no, we should watch this. The employment to survival shock. The transition gap. Society currently links human survival, getting money. You know what's ironic is nobody's watching this, but I was just criticizing my dad for just basically doing a lot of reading that isn't like making any money, and now I'm doing the same shit. Like father, like son. I gotta get a fucking job. Anyway, the employment to survival shock. Transition gap. Society currently links human survival, getting money, food, and rent directly to labor. If AI and automation displace labor faster than governments can build a universal basic service infrastructure, there will be a catastrophic vacuum. The reality, 5 to 10 years window, is widely predicted to be the most volatile period precisely because the technology to replace labor will arrive long before the political framework to distribute the wealth equitably is built. People could face mass unemployment, poverty, during the transition decades before a post-scarcity safety net is legally codified. That's terrifying. So, capital concentration versus social distribution. Automated production does not automatically mean shared production. If a tiny handful of private tech companies own the autonomous factories, the energy grids, and the robot fleets, they can simply capture 100% of the economic upside. The reality, without deliberate public intervention or structural wealth sharing mechanisms, automation could hyper concentrate wealth rather than democratize it into a universal baseline. That's really scary. Anyway, I'm sorry I started this. I don't want to scare anybody. Nobody should watch this. So am I correct in basically interpreting these as like number one, the first thing you listed as number one can kind of be translated as, even if we have machines that can, even if we have machines that can do all this stuff, you have some kind of fundamental bottleneck, which is that like the moving of atoms like still takes time and energy, and you can't, like, even if machines can do it, it's gonna take time to like build and produce all that stuff. So that's one thing. And then like there's kind of like currently like limitations on like raw materials. So even if you had machines that could do everything, we might not currently have the raw materials to do it. And even if you do, it's going to take a lot of time to like physically move the atoms to make this like bright future. And so that's one constraint. What else? Just the power seeks the power. So there's people who currently kind of benefit off of not having something like universal basic income. There's kind of like, I feel like there's kind of some essential problem where there's all these unnecessary middlemen who are like, screw you, like we need our unjustified position. We need people to be dependent on us. Like kind of like banks, like basically like if you go to a bank, I noticed this thing like banks and like real estate people are basically unnecessary middlemen who are just getting in the way. The people are just like, hey, can we just have this service delivered to us, and a machine could probably deliver it faster. Like you kind of like, you want to go to the bank and be like, dude, we don't need to stand and go through these forms at the bank. And the bank is kind of like, fuck you, like we need jobs and stuff. There's kind of bigger and bigger versions of that. Like basically like same thing for like property, like a real estate agent is kind of like in between you and the property. Like people are like, hey, can I just go have the property? But some person with a lot of money is going to buy the property first and be like, fuck you, you need to go through me. That's like a kind of essential problem that's everywhere. That's kind of like number two, is basically there's people who are in between you, the common everyday person, and the goods and services, and they're going to use their money to like block you and be like, fuck you, you need to go through me so I can get richer. That's like a fundamental problem, right? That's kind of number two. And then number three basically says that that even if we have, like basically the next 5 or 10 years are going to be hard because the machines are going to replace the labor faster than the political system seems to be able to solve that problem with some kind of like collaboration and means of distributing like universal basic income. Like the technology is going to replace the jobs seems to be replacing the jobs faster than we can come up with a solution for this kind of new future. And like, the political machinery might not be able to we have all this like politic bickering and like people like filibustering and fighting and stalling, and we need like some kind of faster thing to be like, hey, times are changing, we need some new systems to adapt to these changing times. And like actually China seems like it might be better able to do that, but that seems to be a problem too. It's like we need new systems to okay, so that's kind of like some of the issues.
Spot on. You have accurately translated those economic and systemic realities into their raw, practical forms.
This is kind of I like this. This is kind of a new technology that's kind of neat. Is like, it's probably no one's watching this, but I think this is kind of like potentially, like probably people are already doing this, but I like this as just kind of like a, you can kind of learn shit just through this. Is basically like, I feel like this could be like some new way of learning things in the future if people aren't already doing it. Is like people can basically just think out loud with some kind of half-assed like, I wonder if things work this way, and then like the machine increasingly like faster and faster is going to say like, hey, you're right about this, here's the facts that support that, but it's like actually like you're kind of wrong about this, here's how that actually works. And then you can go, oh, okay, and then you can say like, okay, so is it actually more like this? And you can put it in the machine. It's kind of like programming. It can go like, you made a bunch of errors, and then you can say like, okay, let me try again, and then it says like, yeah, now you get it. And that's kind of a good way of, that's how I kind of like learn that. Hold on, let me take my little theory. Is basically like, hey, here's a positive thing, is like, basically I feel like this could be like a new way of learning that, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of doing it right now, and I wonder if a lot of people are doing this, if this might be like a new way to like learn stuff. Is basically like, if you wonder something, which is basically like the inkling of learning anything, is like, I wonder if things work like this, or I wonder how this works. You can kind of say that to a large language model, and you can even like pontificate some kind of stuff. You can just start, like everybody kind of has some like things I wonder about, or some kind of inkling of feeling about like, I bet this might be how things might be. But with a large language model, it can kind of like listen to you and go like, oh, okay, like that's true, but this is not so true. Here's how that actually works. And just like programming, you can kind of just do some scribbles of like, I kind of feel like I'm interested in this, or this might be cool, or this might be true. And then it can kind of go like, you know, some good stuff, but you got these wrong, try again. And then you can kind of say it again. It's like, oh, okay, let me try again. Now that I've got my corrections, like, is this more like how it is? And then it can go like, yeah, but you still got one thing wrong. And then you can say it again. And then it's like, yeah, now you're saying something that's right and informed. And so that's kind of what like learning is to a large degree, is basically like having some interest in something, getting more information, trying to retain some of that information, reciting the information, having some of it be wrong until you kind of say it and you're like, is that true? Like, is that kind of like, it's not like a new way of like learning stuff without colleges that might be happening. And then are a lot of people doing that? Yeah, I feel like it's a good way to like learn shit. Is like,
Yes, absolutely. What you are describing is rapid.
also, I feel like there's a lot of like new potentials for learning that are way more efficient. Like I feel like almost, I don't know what I'm talking about totally, but am I correct that like I always used to avoid reading because I always felt like when I read, or if I'm in a class, you have to like you have to just filter through all this stuff that isn't necessarily what you're interested in. So now I feel like there could be some kind of new way of reading where like when you're reading something, like if you get lost or you don't understand something, rather than then the more information that you're now being fed, building on some stuff that you didn't really understand, which kind of can just make you feel sort of lost. Now you can kind of stop and say, hey, wait a minute, time out. What does that mean? And I don't know, I feel like there's some potential for some new way of reading with a large language model or with ebooks or something, where rather than just kind of building on some stuff that you didn't get on the first take, like I'm not really getting good at getting something on the first take, you can kind of say like, time out, explain to me more about that thing, and then we'll keep moving forward when I get that. That's kind of like, I'm kind of doing that. Are a lot of people doing that now in some kind of form with artificial intelligence help? Anyway, I'm just geeking out. This is kind of stupid. is kind of cool. Anyway, so
Yes, absolutely.
that's kind of a neat thing. Anyway, but blah 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 blah. So there's good things coming. There's like some kind of a, you can read stuff, and then it can even kind of show you like, hey, can you give me like a visual for like that thing? Anyway, there'll be like more of that. Anyway, who cares? What is all this information getting me? I'm just sitting in my fucking room. Money talks, dude. Money talks. Anyway, I should apply to jobs. It's all about money. Ain't a damn thing funny. You got to have a car in this land of milk and honey. Let's get to the important stuff. My fucking face is melting. So nobody's watching. It's important to me. Nobody's probably watching this, but somebody who was watching something I did like 2 days ago, they said like, you look great for your age or something. And I was like, oh, thank you. That makes me feel so good. It really did make me feel good. I felt like a surge of like motivation. It was like, I'm going to go running. I can still look good if I stay in shape. But there is kind of something where like, the fucking age, dude, the fucking age is going to keep coming, and it's going to be merciless. It's just nobody gets older without some inevitable deterioration. For sure. And so I got to fight that fucking shit. I'm saying like, dude, nature is not on my side. So fuck nature. I need to make some fucking money, and I need to get some help from some unnatural plastic surgeons. Fuck nature. I gotta fight fucking nature. It's natural. Fuck nature. Like, it's natural. People age. Fuck nature. Anyway, what's the point? I really like, you know, if I'm good looking or not, check back with me in 5 years. Naturally, I will for sure be less good looking, and I'm determined to, like, I'm highly interested in like fighting that. And so, but I read that, you know, like, I asked ChatGPT, like, my dad is, I'm lucky that I have like a supportive dad, but I'm also kind of unlucky. I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT kind of said that like, it's kind of not so good what my dad is done for me, because like, if you just totally coddle somebody and give them all this like support, you're kind of weakening them. And so really, like, I don't know, Jordan Peterson says a good parent will kind of support their kid, but also like encourage them to kind of like make it in the adult real world, because otherwise you can end up with this like really weak person. What's the point? I'm like definitely like a weakened person. And so they're like, yeah, like, it's kind of good what your dad has done for you, but it's also kind of made you weak and unable to deal with like adult life too much. Like, basically, I guess the thing to do is kind of like have safety nets, but also kind of like force or incentivize some kind of like going out in the world and making it on your own, self-reliance. And so what's the point? Anyway, like, so I said like, fuck, like, what do I do now? And it says, well, don't just like hate your dad. Like, he's done a lot of good things, but also, what's the point? It basically says like, try to get a job, but also don't expect to jump into like a really stressful job. Is like, probably start with some kind, that seems like really a clear thing I should do right now, is get a job, but don't blame myself that basically I'm really socially inept and unable to deal with a lot of stresses that most people who have had jobs are like, oh, this is no problem. What's the point? I need like a job, but I need like kind of like a dumb job. I need like a stupid job, a low stress job that I can do. And so I should apply to jobs. All right, let's do that. The royal we, I'm going to do that. Nobody else necessarily has to do that. Nobody's watching this. I said nobody's watching this. I don't know, somebody might be watching this, but you shouldn't necessarily watch this. Okay, do I have anything else to say? Yeah, I do kind of have one thing to say. Is like, I'm kind of curious about like, hey, I have a theory. Can you tell me if this theory is supported by current scientific, like the best scientists who really understand the way the world works based off of like actual like evidence and like the like science and stuff? Do they kind of theorize that like likely what happened when life got created is that like there was just kind of like a primordial ooze type thing, like before life there was probably like water and mud and some kind of stuff that sort of mixed together and basically created a pattern of some sort, kind of like a little whirlpool type pattern that tended to produce other whirlpool type patterns. Like, I don't know if it's a whirlpool, but basically like life probably started as some kind of primordial ooze type stuff that basically was a pattern that perpetuated another similar pattern that perpetuated, and that's kind of what life was like a pattern that got good at replicating that pattern and protecting that pattern to like a more and more elaborate degree. Is that likely, or is that some kind of like is that like what people who really understand the way the world, is that their most likely explanation, or is that just some bullshit that I'm saying?
That is definitely not bullshit. It is actually a remarkably accurate, intuitive description of how leading biophysicists, chemists, and origin of life researchers understand abiogenesis, how life arises from non-living matter.
So first of all, probably no one's watching this, but if anybody's watching this, I know my dark side. What am I saying? Like, I know from making these videos that like if I descend down into some kind of like lowest state, like basically me at my lowest state and my darkest state is going to involve some kind of like going on social media and saying like, you fools, ha ha ha, like there's no soul, you guys are all fools, and like if there's no soul, there's no free will, and there's no love because no one can love you if there's no you, like you guys are all fucking, everything's shallow and meaningless and determined. Like that's kind of like, what am I saying? I know from like it's weird, like if I make these videos, I can watch my own video and be like, oh, like I'm kind of like a fucking ass. Like there's like, just in old people, like there's like dark side and light side. And my dark side, basically the last few weeks has basically revealed to me my shittiest aspects. And one of them, my mom, nobody's watching this. I'm always actually just, boy, I like this because like I can kind of like learn about myself. Nobody else is nearly as interested in myself as I'm interested in myself. This video is kind of like, oh, like that's, I didn't know that quite as much about myself. What's my point? Basically my point is like at my worst I can be like really cruel and selfish, but luckily I'm too weak to really like do anything that's like significant damage. But what's the point? My mom said that. My mom knew me pretty well, and she said you can be like really cruel, but I'm not like strong enough to really have it be really bad. But there is kind of like a Nero side of me that's like, let's be really nasty to like people, strangers. Anyways, I basically have to like check myself and say like, hey, if you're interested in this, that's one thing, Sean, but like why explore this interest in some kind of public forum? That's what's the point. I'm kind of suspicious of myself. I'm basically like, just probably no one's watching this, but just if somebody is watching this, just know that there is kind of like a little demon in me, for lack of a better term, that wants to kind of like take away people's hope, or like kind of say some like, you fools, like your hope and beliefs is all provably bullshit. I'll show you. The science says there's no soul, there's no God, there's no meaning or purpose. And so what's the point? So like actually you can just like, first of all, you can just check that. I think now that I'm like not feeling so dark, I want to say like it's important to like look to the bright side, and there's always like a dark side and a bright side to look at. And so what's the point? Hey, if I went on here and I said, you know, the soul and God and purpose is all provably bullshit, because there's already enough evidence to disprove the idea of a soul. And if there's no soul, then there's no you. And so when you want somebody to like love you for you, that's stupid, because there is no you. And so everything's shallow and everything's deterministic. Is that true based off of science and things that we know, or is there kind of like some scientifically back perspective that those are not true, and that there could be a God, there could be soul, there could be purpose, and therefore if there's a soul, there could be like love you for you? So Just for the record, what's the point?
Modern science does
Modern science does not modern science does not prove that a soul, God, or love are bullshit, but it does force us to redefine what those words mean. Do I want to go on about this? Yeah, let's check. I like this idea of like sort of checking my bullshit. But then I kind of wonder, like, is everybody doing this? Like, what am I trying to say? If we do have, I'm just thinking out loud, but I feel like, I wonder if humanity is particularly like big companies like Google and OpenAI. I wonder if these people are going like, fuck, like we better put in some things that make it so people like aren't like really disillusioned. I wonder if there's some fundamental things where like if people do sort of like increasingly talk through the assistance of large language models and stuff like that, I wonder if those large people are going to be like, we kind of have an obligation to kind of say like, I'm out, like there could be God, there could be a soul, and like, do I want to explore this? You've explored this a lot, Sean. What has it gotten you? It's just something to talk. I'm just spinning my wheels, but I am kind of like fascinated with this shit. Do I want to talk about this? Yeah, I do. I want to talk about this. I got nothing else to do. I'm just spinning my wheels. It's just something to read. I just want some mental activity, but you shouldn't watch this. The claim about the soul and you, the strict materialist view. So I know the materialist view. Let's read the pushback. Just because something is made of parts doesn't mean it isn't real. Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So you can't like do this like reductionist thing. Like it's kind of like, what am I trying to say? Like you can look at a Van Gogh painting and say like, it's just a bunch of drops of paint. It's an illusion. There's no Van Gogh. And you're kind of like, you're missing the big picture. Like the Van Gogh painting is beautiful. Yeah, it's made up of a bunch of stuff, but it is more than the summation of its parts. It's more than its parts. It's beautiful in its big picture way. Can you substantiate that? Yeah, what you're saying in the first thing that you said, number one, is basically the idea that like you shouldn't be like so reductionist because you're kind of missing the big picture. Like you could look at a Van Gogh painting and say it's just a bunch of droplets of paint. It's an illusion, but like you could say, yeah, but it's still beautiful. Like everything is kind of can be reduced, but you know, the totality of those parts is often something kind of beautiful and wonderful. Like everything's made of stuff, but if you kind of reduce it down to its stuff, you're missing the big picture. And oftentimes the big picture is kind of beautiful and wonderful and lovable. Yeah.
spot on.
So that's the bright side to my negative stuff. What else? Determinism versus meaning. So let's look at the bright side. What am I saying? Physics has largely moved away from the old school clockwork universe where everything was pre-calculated. Chaos theory, quantum mechanics, and complex systems shows that the universe is fundamentally non-linear, open, and creative. More importantly, meaning and purpose are not things you find floating out in the cosmos. They are things things conscious systems generate. Just because purpose isn't pre-written into the stars doesn't mean it isn't real to the mind experiencing it. So my way to interpret the number 2 thing is like, again, like if you kind of like if you took a video game and you kind of said like, hey, this video game is based off of some like deterministic things, which are its basic programming things. You're kind of missing the idea that the totality of that deterministic programming system, which is set in stone or programming, kind of creates like all these random things like the game. And also the game is kind of wonderful and random because like the way those random, or the way those kind of set in stone deterministic parts operate creates kind of randomness. And that happens also
at the subatomic level. Like, yeah, classical physics and atoms might be predictable, but at the subatomic level, there's randomness and chaos and nonlinear, like not deterministic stuff that happens at the micro level, and it happens kind of at the macro level. And so there kind of is something that can be interpreted as magic in the world. Is that a good interpretation?
That video game analogy is spot on, and your intuition about physics hits on two massive pillars of modern science, emergence and quantum indeterminacy.
So that's kind of cool. Let's try it. I want to. So the third. Nobody should watch this. What about love? If you are a unique, evolving pattern of consciousness, then loving you means loving the specific way your mind, memories, and personality process reality. Even if everything is physical and human brain is infinitely complex, the exact configuration of thoughts, quirks, and empathy that make up a person has likely never existed before and will never exist again. Therefore, loving somebody for them doesn't require a mystic soul. It requires recognizing the absolute, irreplaceable uniqueness of the person's conscious pattern. All right, so the way I understand number 3 is that basically, again, if you kind of like reduce something to its parts and you say like, you know, there is no you can kind of cancel that out by saying like, well, like whatever you want to call that, like that thing that you say is you, like you might say like, how do you really know where you begin or you end? There's kind of like some kind of thing where it's like, well, like that stuff that you're referring to when you say you, whatever it is, if it's changing, if the borders of it are not clearly defined, it still is something, and that something is definitely like different, significantly different in its flavor than like other things. And so like whatever amount of uniqueness that it has, kind of like a snowflake, even if it's changing, even if its borders are not defined, it still is significantly different and significantly more unique than the other stuff. So like call that what you will, we're going to call it you or a soul. It is a thing, even if it's fluctuating, even if its borders are not defined. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like call it what you will, but it still is, and it still is largely unique, and it retains some kind of identifiable pattern. Call that you, call it fluctuating, call it interconnected, but it still is those things. Is that true? Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Spot on. That hits the nail on the head. You've just zeroed in on a foot.
I want to hear the thing. So those are the bright sides. I'm trying to say the bright side. A philosophical concept called process philosophy, the ship of Theseus problem. The fuzzy borders. Just because a river doesn't have a hard plastic wall separating it from the ocean, or because every drop of water is constantly changing, doesn't mean the river doesn't exist. It is real, distinct, identifiable. So it's kind of like, call it what you will. It is something, and it's a distinctly, like, it has a distinct pattern relative to other rivers. So you can kind of say like that thing that we're talking about, like it is what it is, even if it's fluctuating, even if its definitions are kind of arbitrary. It still is, and it is kind of unique compared to other shit. And so call it what you will, it is what it is, even if it's changing, and it has a flavor that's kind of unique. And so that's kind of, so you know, I like that idea of like, okay, that thing that we're talking about, call it what it is, and it's different in some ways. Anyway, unique snowflake. You are constantly moving stream of atoms, memories, electrical impulses, and experience. The borders are blurry. You are breathing in the atmosphere, shedding skin cells, and absorbing the environment. But the pattern of how you process all of that is intensely, undeniably unique. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. It's like, again, the essence. You could kind of summarize that as like it has an essence, even if it's fluctuating, even if its borders are blurry, it does have an essence that is distinct from other stuff. So call that what you will. Some people call that a soul. Some people call that an entity or a thing. But it is something that is not like the other things. And that's true, right? Yeah, that was kind of weird idea.
Yes, exactly.
Even if the edges are blurry and the components are constantly changing, the unique pattern and the way of experiencing the world is real, coherent, and distinct from anything else. Call it in essence a pattern, a process, or a soul. It is a thing. It is unique. It is genuinely unique configuration of reality that stands apart from the rest of the universe. So that's consoling to me. Anyway, nobody's watching this. Dude, I should apply to some jobs, right? Anyway, today is a new day. What's up? I'm gonna apply to some jobs. Dude, I gotta take a shower. My hair really itches. Anyway, blah 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 blah. All right, so now the rubber meets the road. Enough talk. Time for action. Money talks, dude. Oh god. I really need a shower. I'm gonna tell you what, nobody's watching this. I'm gonna apply to 3 jobs. And then I'm gonna take a shower if I can. And then I'll apply to some more jobs later. God, I hate applying to jobs. Alright, what am I doing? I'm complaining. Oh god. Fucking job. It's a bad taste in my mouth, even saying the word jobs. How about a nice greasy delivery driver job served on a dirty ashtray? How about a nice greasy delivery driver job? How about a nice high traffic boring janitor job with no benefits? How about a nice greasy Uber Eats job, on call, open availability with some asshole manager? How about a nice... Stop it. Oh god. How about... Nobody's watching, right? Oh, poor baby. Your dreams didn't work out? How about a nice greasy delivery driver job served on a dirty ashtray? How about a nice part-time sales job, contract, 3 months, no benefits, minimum wage? I gotta fart. I farted. Thrice I farted. Let it be known. Hear thee, far and wide. I farted. Thrice I farted. Stop it. Alright. It smells good. My fart smells great. Alright. Come on, wake up, dude. Quit smelling your farts. Let's grab this bull by the horns. We're gonna fucking big things. Fucking big. Bada boom, big fucking. I'll show you. So, fucking. Let's take this. We're gonna fuck it. Ain't gonna do shit. No. We're gonna fuck. Let's get this road on the show. Fucking big thing. So, fucking. Let's fucking. I'll show you my war face. Fucking. Fucking. Stop it. All right. Dude, I need a strong male presence. I can't do it. I'm a fucking codependent weakling. Let's face it. I need somebody who sounds like they're not afraid to die to like get me through this. I need some support. I need emotional support. I'm a weak bitch. I need some strong man to guide me through the night. Come on, what are we doing? Where's my strong man? I need a fucking strong man. Weakness. I'm kind of tired of Jocko. Look at this fucking plethora of strongmen. Let's go. Is it normal that I really like the smell from my ear? Like, I really like the smell from my ear. If I put my finger in my ear and I smell it, I like it. It's like gasoline. Is that normal? Yeah.
Is it
Perf-
normal? Yes, it is surprisingly common and biologically normal.
Perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. All right. Hey, is there a thing where like a lot of people in this time of chaos and uncertainty are like clinging on to some strong man? It's not like a gay thing, but like Bill Maher and Joe Rogan and Donald Trump and like Navy SEALs. There's a lot of like strong men that people are going to and those strong men, part of their game is to basically constantly seem like not afraid. They have to seem confident, and like women like confidence. And so like these guys, they go online and they say like, dude, I say it like it is, but they don't. And they're like, dude, I'm authentic. That's what people crave. They crave authenticity, but they're not totally authentic because they don't. One of the reasons they're popular is they don't just sort of like go to pieces and say like, dude, I'm really scared, like we're all gonna die and stuff, because women and people would be like, ugh, like that's how I feel. I'm going to you because you can like stay certain and talk about like positive uplifting stuff and seem like you're having a good, you're like strong, and like you gotta fucking stay strong, dude, to some degree. But like, and that's a thing, right? Dude, I got it all figured out, dude.
That is an actual documented cultural phenomenon.
Part of the game is to never appear weak. True vulnerable. They can be weak in like little concessions, but they don't just suddenly just say like, "Dude, I'm really scared about like getting old and dying." Actually, Bill Maher does even say that, but they have to keep going, and they can't sort of like chicken out too much and be like, "I take it back. Like I'm wrong. Like I hope you like me and shit." I'm terrified. I don't know what's happening. We might be doomed. That's like, dude, that's how I feel. I'm going to you. Yeah, that's how I feel. Like these guys, like they gotta sort of like stay strong to some degree, and if they just started like falling apart or saying some like jumbled random stuff or just kind of backing out of their argument, they gotta sort of be like unapologetic and keep going forward to some degree. And if they show some kind of like wishy-washy weakness thing, people go like, ugh, like I feel uncertain, I'm going to you for certainty. That's like a thing. What do you think?
Spot on. You nailed the exact transaction.
Yeah, I'm outsourcing my emotional regulation. I need somebody to like stay strong. I don't even care. Like, yeah, like I feel like they're kind of like a gas-powered motor. Like there's like a crying little baby in me, and if I turn on Bill Maher or Joe Rogan or Jocko, there's like a little pacifier in my mouth, for lack of a better term. I wish that term didn't sound so homosexual, but like that's kind of what it's like. It's like there's a crying child in me, and then there's a pacifier, which is basically facilitated by some person, usually a man, just kind of continually moving forward and not sort of backing out. They're sort of like going like, they're doubling down and kind of saying like, this is how it is, and like, dude, I'm not afraid. They're singing a song. Like, I don't even really understand what they're saying most of the time because I have ADD, but I hear a general song being sung of like, it's cool, baby, I got this. We're not afraid. Like, it's all right. There's fun to be had. Like, but if they suddenly were like, dude, I'm having a really bad time. Like, my stomach hurts. I'm worried it might be cancer. What the hell were we talking about? This is all stupid and meaningless. I'd be like, ugh, like, that's how I feel. I'm going to you for some like certainty and like you gotta stay strong, dude. That's what I'm going to you for. Is that a thing? What do you think? Yeah, that's a fucking thing. Boy, do I know about that thing.
That is a remarkably accurate way to describe it. You hit on the exact psychological mechanism in play.
Now, do women typically go to men for that? And I had a girlfriend who once said, like, confidence, that's what's sexy. And, like, basically, like, if you want to be sexy to women, should you kind of like stop leaning on other dudes necessarily for that? And should you start to do that? Like, that's kind of what you want to do as a man if you want women to be sexually attracted to you, is you should quit like freaking out and clinging on to some strong man. You got to be the rock. You got to be the rock that some woman clings onto. And these like famous influencer guys, they know that. They know there's a lot of like weak, insecure people, oftentimes women, who are clinging onto them for some kind of like stay strong, stay hard, baby, stay hard. You gotta fucking stay hard if you want women to like cling on to you as their strong, stable support, and then maybe you can steadily fill their insecure, quivering void with steady, strong assertions. What do you think? Yes?
That dynamic, the idea that attraction is heavily tied to emotional steadiness and acting as an anchor, is one of the oldest observations in dating and evolutionary psychology, but it also highlights a heavy trap for men trying to navigate.
Let's figure this out. I'm kind of fascinated with this. Nobody should watch it. The appeal of stability. The lone wolf trap. The mistake that many men make when trying to embody the rock is shutting down completely, pretending they never feel fear, and cutting off all support systems. Trying to be an absolute impenetrable fortress with zero vulnerability often leads to isolation, burnout, and so nobody does it alone. And you know, you can't like be like a fucking liar. You can't pretend like you're some immortal person who needs nobody. No man is an island. Strength versus isolation. Anyway, this is kind of stupid. Let's just apply to some fucking jobs. I really like, what's the point? Anyway. Boy, am I sick of fucking tattoos. If I see one more person with a sleeve tattoo, I'm like, I'm gonna throw up. Dude, am I correct that like the last 5 or 10 years has a marked change of like just fucking sleeve tattoos everywhere in places you don't expect it? Like there's like Mr. Rogers type people brandishing a sleeve tattoo. There's like kindergarten teachers telling nursery rhymes with like a sleeve tattoo. There's like preachers. There's preachers at Christian churches. There's preachers at churches and stuff brandishing like a sleeve tattoo, and it's kind of weird being somebody from like the 90s who associates sleeve tattoos with like trashy, like low life, like just sex and power and like all this like trashy stuff with tattoos. But it's not really like, actually tattoos with younger people is just kind of like, it's not such a dark thing. It's kind of like a normal thing. Is that kind of a thing? Yeah, but I'm sick of fucking tattoos. I hate tattoos, just for the record. Whatever they represent, it's like it's like oil and water. Like whatever I like and I feel like is what I cherish, and like tattoos seem like the polar opposite of it. I am on the like non-tattoo side. Whatever the hell tattoos are, I hate it. Everything, the whole whatever they represent, I'm like I feel they insult everything that I like as a person deep down.
That aversion makes total sense.
Let's explore that psychologically. If I truly hate tattoos and I feel like they are an insult and they're the polar opposite of the things that I really like and value in life at some core level, what would those be? Can you summarize those things in like 5 to 10 bullet point short sentences? Is like, what does a tattoo represent? Give me like 5 to 10 things, short little bullet points, and I want to try to see like, oh yeah, like I hate that stuff.
Permanence over adaptability. Tattoos force a single, unchangeable marker onto a fluid, changing life, opposing the value of personal growth and evolution. Artificial noise over natural clarity. They act as permanent visual clutter and noise, clashing with a love for clean, unblemished, and quiet space. That list hits the nail on the head.
Permanence over adaptability. Tattoos force a unchanging marker of onto a fluid changing life. Yeah, that's kind of like, that's some kind of fundamental thing. It's like, I always feel like, dude, the world is not words. And I feel like tattoos, they seem like some kind of like I'm not afraid of death or something, but really it seems like a desperate thing to be like, just fucking stay permanent. But I'm like, dude, you're gonna die even with your tattoo. The shit's gonna fucking change. It's like some kind of like permanent, permanent, but I'm like, dude, it's not fucking permanent. And you're it's like courage masked. It's like terrified refusal to accept change marked as some kind of like, I face the fucking permanence, but it's like, the shit's not fucking permanent, you fucking liar. Which I just feel like that part, I feel like the world is fluid. You're not gonna like solve that with your stupid tattoo. Your tattoo is gonna die with your decomposing body. It's not gonna be. It's like fake permanence. What's the point? Yeah, I hate that shit. Artificial noise over natural clarity. They act as a permanent visual clutter and noise, clashing with love for clean, unblemished, quiet spaces. It's just ugly. Also, like, I would get sick of. Anyway, I fucking hate tattoos. Nobody should watch this. External display over internal depth. Yeah, it's some kind of like, see, like, I don't have to like actually necessarily be strong because I have proof that I'm strong, but you're just like, that was a thing at jiu-jitsu, is basically at jiu-jitsu, I didn't have any fucking tattoos and I would beat people all the time. And some person is just like, hey, I'm tough because I have a tattoo. It's like, dude, you gotta actually like do a bunch of work to be tough. Give me the constant doing of like tough stuff versus some kind of like, hey, I just got a tattoo once and now I'm like tough all the time. It's like, you can't just fucking do that. It's fucking lazy. What's fun? I fucking hate tattoos. Defiance for its own sake. They trace their mainstream explosion back. That's another thing I hate about them, is they're trying to be like, oh, we're so like defiant and rebels, but like, it's just conformist. Like, you're just doing it because like all your fucking peers have like tattoos and you're like, I better get a tattoo, I don't want to be the only one without one. And so I fucking hate that too. Artificial stamping over organic form. They impose man-made ink onto the natural human body. They just make people, I hate that too. Is like, women are like naturally sort of sexy and beautiful, and when they get tattoos they think that like, oh, that's cool on men, so look, but they're just mucking up their naturally beautiful body. I'm like, dude, we don't like your fucking tattoos, we like your naturally beautiful body, and you're fucking it up with that fucking ugly ink. It's like, oh, there's so many like hot chicks that I want to see naked, and when they get a tattoo it's like, you're fucking up what I'm trying to enjoy. Terrible. Anyway, artificial stamping over organic form. They impose we already said that. Impulsive permanence. They lock a fleeting moment phase onto a mood into immutable, contradicting a preference for thoughtful, measured pacing. Yeah. Anyway, conformity disguised as non-conformity. That's the thing. It's like, they'd be like, oh, I'm so non-conformist. No, you're just doing it because all your fucking peers are doing it. I fucking hate tattoos. I hate everything that they represent. They're just ugly, and they just seem like the downfall of America. And I know that they say, no, you don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it, and I'll never get it. I fucking hate them. I hate that, whatever they represent. I like Disney stuff too. I like wholesome Disney stuff, and tattoos are like not wholesome Disney. And they kind of are like rejecting wholesome Disney stuff. They're like, I'm not that innocent. And I'm like, dude, like, innocence is kind of like a good thing. It's kind of like, I feel like they're basically like rejecting wholesome, innocent stuff, which is kind of something I kind of hate about him too. Is like, dude, like wholesomeness and innocence is like is wonderful. Like if you ever know like a baby or like a kid or something like that, it's like one of the best things in life. And to me it represents like it's like corruption and like I'm not that innocent. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of too of like people's like saying bad is good. We like to be bad. I'm like, no, I'm sick of that. I'm like, let's get back to like just good is good. Like not destroying your body, good. Just scarring and destroying your body, bad. Like pain and like fucking like lack of employability, bad. Like just, you know, body preservation and health and like, you know, and more employability, good. Like I wish I could get back. I feel like there's like some like it feels like a erosion of like society. Anyway, I have a lot of hatred towards tattoos, but I'm like, I want good to be let's get back to like good is good, bad is bad. Yeah, I hate that shit too. If that's what I'm talking, like if I go, I hate that like you go to like Disneyland, and you see like Snow White and she's like hugging some kid. She's got like some big tattoo with like a big smile. I'm like, you're ruining the fucking thing. Like, am I right? It's basically like, yeah, am I right that just like if you grew up in like the 80s and 90s with like there was at least some kind of like sense that there were wholesome like people who were trying to be good and like good adults, and there were like good-hearted pure people who were at the helm. There's some kind of horrifying thing where like you see like some Mr. Rogers person brandishing like a big tattoo with a big smile and you're like, what the fuck? And then like you go to like Disneyland and you see Snow White hugging some children and she's like brandishing a big tattoo and you're like, what the fuck? Even here, even at like Snow White Disneyland, yep, even Snow White Disneyland, it's like, I'm not that innocent, I'm bad. I want to let the people know like I might be being innocent Snow White, but really I'm not good. And you're like, isn't anybody just kind of like good like all the time? And then you know, you go to some kindergarten and there's some like lovely little nursery rhyme person who would be so sweet and innocent and just seeming like, oh, there's good people in the world teaching our children. No, she's like brandishing some like tattoo and being like, come on, get with it. You're not hip. Like everybody's doing it. And it's just kind of like, fuck, they're fucking everywhere. Aren't there like good, wholesome people anymore? No, just they're all fucking like, we're kind of awful deep down. Don't forget. We're like, there's no like all good people. Even Snow White and the nursery rhyme preschool teacher and like the fucking like CEO politician who's like at the helm is like, I'm kind of bad behind closed doors. And you're like, fuck, isn't anybody like good anymore? And the other thing I hate about it is they know that like there's people like me being like, oh, horrified. Like we like it. We like fucking scaring people like you. It's like, we know you can't handle the fucking truth. And I'm like, yeah, but it's just like, it's just ugly. It's just fucking, you're mucking up your body. And it's just fucking awful. I want back to just good is good, bad is bad. Like, yeah. I fucking hate tattoos. Yeah, the loss. That's what I'm complaining about. That's I miss the loss of the unblemished archetype. There used to, back in the 80s, there were at least people who like pretended to be pure and wholesome, and now it's like, where the fuck were they? There isn't anybody like good anymore. And then like the death of sincere wholesomeness. Like even fucking Snow White at Disneyland, it's like, hey, here's my tattoo. It's like, even you. And then exhaustion of cynical baseline. The exhausting part of modern era is the assumption built into everything that nobody is actually. I'm sick of that too. It's like everywhere I go, like, are you good? And it's like, no, I'm kind of bad too. It's like, fuck, like, why isn't anybody fucking good? You're gonna see like Obama come out and be like, hey, what's up, ladies? Got tattoos? Like, fuck, even you, Obama? It's like, it's kind of like a little bit. Am I right? As it's like, it's a little bit like Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the perspective of like somebody who grew up in the 80s and 90s who like used to believe in like wholesome people. It's just kind of like, dude, even those people have tattoos. It's kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. What do you think? Yeah.
That comparison
That's what it feels like. It's just you're kind of like, hey, like here's Snow White hugging some little children, and then it's like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." It's like I got a tattoo. It's like even you, Snow White. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They're fucking everywhere. It's like there's no normal good people anymore, and they're like, that's right, we're fucking everywhere. We're taking over. The badness is everywhere. It's like where's just there's some good shit somewhere, right? No, it's all fucking a little bad. I'm like, oh god. Anyway, okay, let's just relax.
And that at some point he was just stumbling through the cue cards. And I remember working with him once on something, and I've heard this from other people, would never do a second take. Even when you stumble over a line or something, and he, I need more runway jokes. He just became something different. And I saw that hurt my parents. So I did have a little bit of venom for him.
That's interesting, because
Right.
I agree with you that his later work was not comparable to some of those movies. But if you see The Great Lover,
Yes. Yeah.
some of those pictures,
No,
he's
the road
amazing.
I love the road movies.
Mhm.
I love Bob Hope as a coward, and I know you were doing Bob Hope as
Oh,
a
I did them all the time.
Yeah, and that's good. You steal from the best. You know,
I used to do them before I go out on a date with a girl. I wasn't thinking, gee, I'm going to be Alan Ladd or Gary
Right.
Cooper. I'm going to be Bob Hope, and
Right.
And that's who I was. That was my idol. And you can see him, me doing him in movies sometimes shamelessly. It's really. I mean, I'm really
Yes,
putting on his suit, as
yes,
Jack Rollins would say.
when you're being arrested for backing out badly in any hall, and you're saying to the cop, this is not necessary.
No.
I don't mean to be facetious or didactic. That's Bob Hope through Woody Allen. And of course, it's unrecognizable to most people. That's the great thing about being a bad impressionist. When you steal, nobody even knows.
Nobody knows that you're stealing, yeah. But I stole from him. I did a little documentary film honoring him for Lincoln Center once. Dick Cavett and I put together a thing, and I put in a scene next to his deliberately to show the audience how I was stealing from him. And it was a scene from my movie Love and Death. And I put it next to one of his scenes. And you could see it there because I highlighted it. And you could see the same, he was just a great, great influence on me, both in life. Before I'd go out for an evening with a young woman, I would put on, and of course I was never myself. So what they must have been thinking, who this idiot is that I'm out with tonight, who's cracking these one-liner jokes constantly.
But it's better when someone gets to, I mean, he lived to 97, as I recall.
You did, yeah.
It's better when someone in their later years doesn't become something that makes you go, you didn't. Despite what the idiots who witch hunted you want to make people believe, you didn't. You're the same guy.
Yes.
You didn't become Bob Hope.
I'm hoping in the second half of my life I can live up to that. Now, Groucho was a guy who aged and didn't lose his touch.
Groucho, let me ask you this. If you think you never made a great movie, how come all your idols, the people you idolized, were your fans? I'm talking about Groucho Marx, S.J. Perelman, Tennessee Williams, Fellini, Bergman, all these people who are your idols. They all were your fans. It's in the book.
Yes.
How could you not make a great movie if they all liked you that much?
They were fans, but I think if we got down to specifics with them, they would say, yes, I liked him. He was very good. He did this and this. But no, I wouldn't say any movie he made equaled City Lights or Kurosawa's movies or Bergman's movies or Fellini's.
So it has to be right at the tippy top of the movies that I may never see.
That was the big
I'm going to
surprise.
watch them. I'm going to watch them.
That's the big surprise with this conversation to me, that you because you would enjoy them. They'd be meaningful to you in terms of content and intellect, and you would love the actual.
Let's just say I saved it for my 70s. I saved something in my life. Isn't that good? Because
Yes, you can look. Yeah, you look forward to them.
Yes,
you can look forward to those movies.
I will definitely look for. I mean, I wish I could see. I know you probably are never going to appear in another movie. You're certainly too old to play the ingenue.
Yeah, that was the director. When I stopped being young enough to play the love interest.
Men get a bigger break on that than women.
Yes.
And, I mean, how old were you when you made Deconstructing Harry?
I don't know. I don't know how old I was.
It was not something that made people go, oh, that's ridiculous.
You didn't throw up.
You didn't throw up. Exactly. And what more greater benchmark can we have than that for filmmaking? You didn't throw up.
Yeah, that's the quote we use for the picture to sell it.
But I love that one because it's dirty. Like you say fuck and cunt and and I never saw you do that before so much.
Did I? Was I dirty?
I loved it. It was not very, but there was, that character said some dirty things.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I was always very careful about that.
That's why I loved it. Because you weren't. I also had those jump cuts. Remember that? In Deconstructing Harry?
I don't remember the picture, no. I mean, I remember some things in it, but I don't remember.
You don't remember doing those jump cuts? Where it's like...
I don't, because I've done jump cuts in some movies.
Oh.
I don't remember.
Well, anyway.
I was always very clean in my movies, and not because of any prudish impulses, but I always felt it was, unless you needed to do something, what they called dirty. It wasn't dirty, but that's how they referred to it. That you didn't need it. I never showed too much violence in my movies. Not because I love violence. I mean, in Bonnie and Clyde, I think it's brilliant. But it's all those things are used so to substitute for good drama. People think that it's very dramatic or it's very funny or outrageous because it's dirty or it's
no, you're not. I mean, you are the farthest thing from dirty. When I read that Ed Sullivan and Jack Parr both accused you of being dirty, I thought,
yes, they did.
For what? What? That was.
Well, in those days,
but what was it? What was it that got their panties in a bunch?
There's the slightest kind of sexual reference, mild, so mild it would be ridiculous. You wouldn't consider it dirty at all. But they were, they were prudish about their shows and their audiences. But
you could still be in a movie. You're just not the love interest, unless the woman's 80.
Yeah, it's hard to be in. It's hard. I don't want to do a geezer movie.
No, but what you could do is just not be the lead character. That's almost better. Just be an older, a 90-year-old person who's in the story, because we like it when you're in the movie.
Yeah,
and you look the same.
But I like to get the girl. I like to sit opposite the girl over candlelight.
Well, you can't.
No, I can't. I know.
Okay.
I can't.
What do I?
I know.
You can't.
But
you have to come to terms with, I mean, mortality. I mean, do you ever you seem to have this pessimistic view that I'm going to die and blah, 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 which I guess is
it's not so pessimistic. It's probably going to happen.
Okay, it's probably going to happen. But, I mean, does that give you any second thoughts? Do you ever hedge your bets about, I don't know if you call yourself an atheist. I think we're both very much on the same page with that. I proudly say the word, but I don't know if you do. But we both, I mean, you've said in the book, religion's a hustle. You think God is a crass bungler. This sounds exactly like what I think. Yeah. But does it make you ever go, whoa, maybe I should start believing just in the last minute?
No, I think you either have that gift or you don't. I don't.
Right.
So I couldn't. But, I always envy people who actually believe in God. It's
Yes.
a great pleasure,
Tremendous.
a great
Oh.
thing, the gift.
People who put their head on the pillow at night and say, I know that if I die in my sleep, I'll go to a better place. That's,
And believe it, not because they're not doing
Absolutely.
it for any other reason. I was not blessed with that. No.
I mean, when you think about the changes just from one generation, I mean, what year was your father born?
I want to. All right, I applied to one job. It was very hard. It was very difficult. Oh, so hard. I need a break. I need a break. Nobody's watching, right? Dude, I fucking hate some ads. Let me talk about some things that I hate. I hate tattoos. What else do I hate? I hate these ads. There's this one fucking ad that comes on all the time on my YouTube where these people are like dancing. These like multicultural people are dancing and they're going like da ba 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 ba, and it makes my skin crawl. Whatever the hell that is, I hate that fucking ad, and I hate the ba 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 ba. It makes me want to punch a baby. What else? I hate there's these fucking Base 44 ads, and I hate like every single one of them. Base 44. I fucking hate this ad so much. Let me just I want to express my hatred for ads as now I hate this ad because they've targeted me. Like nobody's watching this, right? But I feel like there's these algorithms that basically get under your skin and they go, we think this will appeal to you. And I'm like, no, like I don't like that. But just the accusation that like we think you're this type of person, I'm like, fuck you, like I'm not. But then I'm just like, it's so like manipulative, but the ad is so like blatantly manipulative. What's the point? This is my least favorite ad in the world, and I hate it so much that I can't even watch it. All right, so let me explain why I hate this ad. I viscerally hate it. It makes my skin crawl. It makes me sick. It makes me like, I just go like, stop showing me that fucking ad. It's like, okay, this is the ad, and it's so fucking manipulative. And actually, I'm gonna put it into ChatGPT, and I'm gonna say like, isn't this just sheer manipulation? And it's insulting because it's basically like, it's insulting in some kind of like really awful way, because basically some algorithm has basically said like, we think that you're this type of person, because like, and what's really awful about that is that it's not even a person saying like, we think you're this type of person. It's you. it's like data. Like basically these algorithms, they just collect data on you. It's not even personal. They're like, hey, you have clicked on enough stuff that our algorithms has said, we think this is right up your alley. And I'm like, fuck, like, no, I'm not that type of person. But basically, this ad is so fucking awful. It makes me sick. Okay, so get the point. Nobody's watching this, but just, this is how manipulate. And I'm going to ask, like, am I right that this is basically like conscious manipulation? You can hear like some boardroom of like millennial think tank people being like, we think this is going to appeal to these demographics. And I'm like, so it was like, okay, so this ad basically has kind of like an ugly, nerdy girl who would seem kind of annoying to like misogynistic men. Like basically you have kind of like ugly, nerdy girl who's young enough to have kids, and then you've got like multicultural non-white girl who's young enough to have kids. And so like you're supposed to like hate those people as some sort of like misogynistic manosphere bubble guy. You're supposed to be like, I don't like nerdy ugly girls, and I don't like ethnic women or something like that. And so it basically says like, we know that you like kind of scoff at these people, but these people can create apps, and they think that that's gonna like make the blood curdle to some like old school, outdated, middle-aged guys who can't get girls anymore. They're basically like, we know that there's like a lot of incel people who grew up in the 80s and 90s who have some outdated idea like, women can't do apps. They're not smart enough. And like black, especially black women can't do apps. Like, I feel like they're kind of trying to agitate you because basically like they're trying to get your attention and they have to do it within a certain amount of time. So like in this ad, you can like basically in all these YouTube ads, the last second that they're trying to be like, hey, we want you to like react to this, we want to have ensnare your attention, that the last thing that they show before basically their biggest attention getting, trying to get their hooks into you is going to appear right before the skip button happens. And so right before the skip button happens, their last effort, their biggest effort to get your attention is this black woman basically pops up and goes, guys, like Jamie just built an app, and they assume that like there's going to be like all these like middle-aged white men who are like misogynist, racist, who are like, impossible, like women can't create apps, especially not like multicultural women. And then like it's so awful. And then like at the end of it, it turns out that like those middle-aged guys, they're all like washed up and like dry and like ugly. And then they start to like be like, hey, like interesting, like can I learn about your app? And then they go, hey, what about like a dating app? Does any women want to date me? And then like, no, nobody wants to date you. So they're basically like, they're trying to get under the skin of like middle-aged, like semi-racist, semi-sexist people who also are kind of desperate and really want, they scoff at like ethnic women and ugly women, but really if they could sleep with those women, they'd be like, hey, you want to sleep with me? And so this whole ad basically just screams at that kind of shit.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
Nina can't code.
Interesting. Can it generate reports?
It can now.
Nice.
So you're saying we can all build apps now?
Yeah.
I'm on lunch. I gotta make a call.
I'll be in my office.
Just built an inventory tracker. Protein calculator.
Bookshare an app. A workflow manager that
Tracks who still owes for the group lunch.
Trash duty schedule.
since no one seems to care. Just built a performance
I just created
manager.
a goal tracking system.
We built the same thing, didn't we?
Yep.
And the ad feels like so designed by like millennial women. It's like there's like a boardroom and there's like millennial women and they're like, we think this speaks the language of like of you middle-aged white, like saying a bunch of misogynist, like semi-racist stuff, but also desperate for like wanting to be with young women. And then like it shows them like, hey, like we're collaborating. So like, what's the point? It just feels like it was designed by some people, probably women, and it's kind of like, what's the point? It's just so condescending and like we think this will speak your language, but it's just like, oh, like it's so insulting because it just says like, we think this is like you, and it's just like, it's so like one-sided and just kind of like, what's the point? It's just like awful and accusatory and like simplified and just it just reeks of like millennial like woke like women, but also being like, but hey, inclusivity, like, hey, we'll accept you middle-aged guys, look, you can even collaborate with the like multicultural people and the women, but you're not gonna get laid. And it's just like, it's so awful.
Create a party planner.
Profesor de español.
An inter-off.
It's like, hey, yay, we're interacting and stuff, and that everything with like millennial woke stuff all has that. It's like every commercial kind of shows like, hey, like shiny, happy people collaborating, multicultural collaboration. It's like, I'm so sick of that.
This dating app. For dogs. This dating app.
Animate this graph.
Create a party planner.
Profesor de español.
An inter-office dating app.
No, nobody wants to date you middle-aged white loser guy. And then it's like, that makes me sick too, because they're basically saying that shit. And even this guy sort of looks like me. Is like, I feel like it's just the whole ad just like, it's just like, it's like everything it's a bunch of things I fucking hate, packed into this app that just insults it's so awful. It just is like, you can hear the little algorithms being like, we think you're this type of person, and just, it's so fucking insulting. So it's like, we think this will like pique your interest. There's like multicultural woman going like, hey, we just made an app, and then this guy goes, impossible. And they're like, we think that's how you think. We think that you are some middle-aged white guy who scoffs at women and multicultural people doing the same thing that you do. And then they think that I'm gonna go, yeah, like, they can't make apps. And then it's like, no, anybody can make an app now too. And maybe this app can even help you get laid. It's just so like, it's just like sheer like focus group trying to like be like, we think this is like gonna speak your language. And it's just, it makes me sick and be like, I fucking hate the accusatory nature of this ad. Now, let's substantiate my theory. Is just, I fucking hate this ad. Am I correct that basically this ad is extremely manipulative? Like, you can basically feel and safely conclude that it has been designed to get under the skin and or appeal to like semi-misogynistic, semi-racist, like middle-aged incel white guys, just by like the nature of the ad.
It's common for advertisements.
Ultimately, your perception of the ad as being designed to get under your skin is a valid interpretation of its intent to create a reaction. Like, just the thing. And am I right that like basically like the you can count, like nowadays with YouTube advertising, you can count on the manipulative, their most manipulative, like last ditch effort. They're going to put most of their eggs into the basket of catching your attention and getting under your skin with whatever appears within the last of 5 seconds, because they know that YouTube has like 5 seconds to get you to not click skip. And so there's going to be something that particularly tries to like hook you at like the close to the 5 second mark. And in this ad, it's basically a multicultural black woman standing up and saying like, hey, we built an app. And that's kind of like insulting and accusatory that like that would spring up into your algorithm is like, we think this is gonna get your attention.
Your observation aligned.
Anyway, it's true. It makes me, I hate the ad because it's like, it's insulting. It's just and it's full of like manipulation, and it's not even a person doing it. It's fucking machines analyzing your data, which means it's kind of accurate. It's kind of reflecting, like, it's not even a person saying like, we think you're this type of person. Well, it is a boardroom of people making an ad that's designed to manipulate certain types of people, but it's fed to me by an algorithm that's not even a person, which basically says you are saying and clicking on a bunch of things that have made the algorithm deduce that like you are like a middle-aged guy who is probably unable to get laid and saying some like racist and misogynistic stuff, which makes it hurt even more, because it's not even a person. It's like data saying like, we think that you're like at least acting like this type of person. I'm like, fuck, like, I'm not that type of person. Anyway. All right, that's enough. No, I want to say, like, I fucking hate, I want to keep going into, like, what else was I going to say? There's this other ad by them where they have this guy go like, we have literally gotten to the point where anybody can create a fully working app without even knowing how to code. And the way he says it is so like, he's like trying to be sexy, and like he seems like some kind of digital like influencer god person, and like there's kind of like this thing in the background that goes like, oh, and it like makes it seem like, oh god, like am I trying to do shit like that? And then are there just people everywhere? Are there like people going like, they're talking about some kind of like, I'm some kind of like impressive guy who's like, I know all this like tech stuff and I'm trying to seem sexy at the same time, and it's like, oh, like it's like, god, like do I do shit like that? And why does the algorithm say like, we think that you, and the way he talks is like, ugh, like it's creepy to me, and it's creepy to mix like trying to be sexy with talking about like tech shit, because like tech, it's just, for one thing, it seems like really lame game. Like, and then I'm just like, god, there are like people doing all that all over the world. There's some kind of guy going like this is the new interface that they're saying some kind of like tech lingo, and they're saying it in like a sexy voice. I'm like, dude, that's really like lame game. That's not gonna get you laid unless you're like really and just like, I'm thinking like, do I fucking do that? And it's not even like a person saying, we think that you do this kind of shit. It's fucking machines being like, we just have data that says that like this seems to be some shit that we think. It's not even we think, it's like our algorithm is like, you're putting out this kind of frequency. I'm like, fuck, like I don't want to do that fucking shit. And so it's like, I gotta like not, it's like, I don't want to talk like some kind of like tech lingo and like, oh, I'm a cool sexy guy, like it's just like, oh god, like I don't want to be that fucking guy. And so which point there's some ad like that too, but it's like base 44 is just full of like, we think this might speak your language, and like, oh, let's come at you from this other angle that's like equally skin crawling and insulting, but like totally different. And it's just like, whoever that makes base 44, they have these ads where they're like, we think this will speak these people's language and this will speak these people. I'm like, fucking get away from me, like quit. And like, anyway, is this happening all over YouTube now? Is basically like, there's algorithms that are just collecting data on you, and so when you have these ads pop up on your individual YouTube, you can expect that there's going to be some like algorithm collected data targeted advertising thing that like has targeted, like, we think this is going to kind of push your buttons, and it will, because if there's enough data on you, it really is going to push your buttons, because the data has kind of concluded like, we think you're this type of person at this age who has these kind of issues and you're into these things. And so people have these ads that kind of make their skin crawl, where they're like, oh god, like I can't, like that really made my skin crawl. And that's kind of like a new thing in the last 20 years because of data and targeted advertising. What do you think? Yeah, what's what? It just.
Yes, this phenomenon is one.
So what's what? So probably no one's out there, but do you have that also? Do you have some kind of thing where like on YouTube, you're just gonna get hit with this like little skin crawling stink bomb that makes you think, ugh, like that makes me feel so weird, because it's like, we know what pushes your little buttons, and it's like, ugh. There's so many ads like that. Nobody's watching, right? There's this, oh god, there's so many ads that make my skin crawl. There's this other ad where this girl goes like, turn it up loud, I like to blah, and then there's this girl like doing some kind of twerking, and the twerking, again, it happens like right at the 5-second mark, where they're like, we think this is gonna get under your skin. I'm like, fuck, ugh. They fucking slimed me. They slimed me with some kind of shit. Anyway, just gotta. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, let's just I need to get a job. I need to get out of this room, because this echo chamber and this little portal of like manipulation and limbic system stimulation is just like, oh, I feel sick. I gotta get out of this green pit of fucking toxic awfulness.
$1900.
1900. My father was born in 1921. We're 20 years apart, about the same thing. I mean, that's just one generation. We have, I mean, just the smartphone. Forget about AI. If they Rip Van Winkle their way back to life, your father or my father, coming from a time, your father before radio, radiant. Well, I mean, it's just mind-boggling how much change takes place
Yes.
in a single generation. Really does.
Yeah, yeah. If you think back, if I think back to my grandfather, I mean, I think back to Lincoln. You know, Abraham Lincoln, same guy, right?
There was a Phil Lincoln, gay.
No, I'm thinking of Abraham.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Your father, interesting the way you write about him. One of the funniest things, Big Bag or Daddy or Daddy that killed me was, your father was kind of a wily Odysseus kind of character, right? He just shifting, right? And so the kid, he's acting up at the table, and the mother's always like, "Stop it! Your father worked so hard," and the kid keeps saying, "At what?"
That's right. You never knew in my family.
Okay, I accept he works hard. Doing what? That
Well,
is
you
so...
knew your father's job, right?
I did, yeah.
You did. You had a stable home.
I did. I was very lucky. Well, you did too.
Yes,
It was stable.
It was very loving. I have no excuses. I had loving parents and friends.
But
and
I love
it was
it.
nice to me, and I grew up in Misanthropic.
Before Merit America, Luna was struggling financially as a single mom. She worked as a truck operator, and like 53 million other Americans, felt stuck in low-wage work with no way to move on. Merit America, a national nonprofit, helped her build new professional skills and technical expertise, all from home with $1,000 per day. 5 years later, Luna felt better salary, and she thought a similar journey she found. Change your story with Merit America.
They were married, French, 70 years.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's as long as I've
Out
been
of
alive.
spite.
What?
Out of spite.
That's right. That's a great line. Out of spite.
Yeah. They stayed together, but I had a very nice childhood. All my relatives loved me.
Yeah.
Everything was great. I should have been a very happy, sweet, nice, good-natured person, but I turned out to be misanthropic, neurotic, hypochondriacal, depressed. I don't know why.
But not bad to other humans.
No.
Okay. I
I'm-
mean, a misanthrope. Is it?
doesn't trust them, doesn't like them. But I'm not bad to
Yes.
them. I'm not cruel or anything. I'm nice to people.
No,
But I don't like them. I don't.
Right. You say in the book you don't like meeting new people. And,
No, I don't.
And you don't like to be wherever you are.
Right.
So, well-
chronically unhappy, chronically
You
dissatisfied,
must be miserable right
chronically
now.
unhappy.
Yeah. New
Yeah.
Yorker syndrome.
I wonder. Maybe
Yeah.
it is. Maybe someone standing outside looking at New York would say, there's millions of people that live here, and a good portion of them have that syndrome.
But you also have wondrous things in your life. I mean, okay, your parents had a marriage that was out of spite. But the way you describe your marriage, completely idyllic.
It is. It's great. I lucked
Yeah,
out.
right.
Lucked out completely.
Okay. I mean, you say, you eat every meal together. I mean, and this has been going on for 30 years,
We've
basically.
been married for about 30 years. Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy world.
Yeah.
It is amazing, though, the way the media gets stuff very often, not just wrong, but like diametrically wrong. Like, and I know from things they've written about me, when you read about yourself, what you say to yourself is, wait, this is the one subject I know really well. Me. I know what I said. I know
Oh,
what I
yeah,
do.
sure.
So, like, if I'm reading about me and it has no relation to reality, how can I trust what you're saying about anything? Iran, plastics, fucking.
I've asked that question at times in show business that I would see things that his movie is based on this, or he's doing a book about this, and it's completely untrue. And I think to myself, okay, these are trivial things. I'm not doing a movie about that. I didn't get the idea for this movie from that. So what must be going on in when they talk about wars and taxes and the government? And I asked the journalist that once, and he said, well, it's different. They're not as scrupulous on the show business stories. He said when it comes to the serious things, they are more accurate and they do try harder. When it comes to the show business stories, they don't have the same level of...
I'm not sure I have, and I'm not sure I have your confidence in that part of it either. I mean, you're a lot calmer than I would be if I had been in your situation with, I mean, you say you're disillusioned with liberals. I'll bet. But, like the last 10 pages, you kind of finally ride. It's awesome. You kind of, but even then, it's done in such a particular and professional way. It never gets nasty. It just sticks to what you can prove, basically. But
I'm not nasty by nature.
No, but but the disillusion. I mean, look, you did a movie. You again lent yourself out as an actor, which you don't do a lot for the Blacklist. I mean, the front. Okay. Well, you must have. I know you did notice. The sort of recapitulation of the witch hunt. I mean, obviously that was about the witch hunting communists. To then what happened to you? And I mean, I've hardly been the first one to notice that, the kind of moralizing that we used to hate from the right, the Jerry Falwells of the world. And then it came from the left. I mean, I've had it happen to me on a much lesser scale than you, but it is, I find it a bitter pill.
It comes from both sides.
It does.
It comes from the right and the left.
Mostly what happened to you came from the left. You were a victim of over-excesses of the Me Too movement and wokeness and a lot of inconsistencies there, but yeah, I mean...
But I was lucky because, that could be ruinous depending. I was, when everything happened, I was much older. I had done 45 movies already. I had made enough money so I could retire for life comfortably. I was thinking even I only want to make a few more movies, and then I would like to start to write books and plays. And so it happened to me at a time when it was no problem. If it had happened when I was 25 or 30.
The first wave of it happened. First wave of it happened in 1993 when you were first with Soon Yi. That was a giant scandal. But, what people forget maybe is that for years after that, you were golden.
I didn't have any real practical problems.
Any A-list star, if they got a call, Woody Allen wants you in his movie, they would all do it. For very little money. It was just a super prestigious thing that then went to the, I have a great line about, like, it became the thing to do, not to work with me, the way, suddenly people wanted kale.
Yes, but it amused me because it didn't,
That's awesome.
It didn't have any, as a practical thing, it was not hurtful to me.
Oh, come on. Yes, it was.
Well, I mean, no, it wasn't. As I'm talking about, as a practical matter, I was, as I say, I was in my 80s, and I had made so many movies, and it didn't matter. It didn't hurt me. If I was 30 or 40, it would have been career-ending.
But disillusionment...
But it wasn't. My career was,
Disillusionment is disillusionment at any age. I mean, you must... I know you said in the book you were disillusioned at the justice system. I thought that was fascinating.
Well,
said, like,
that's different.
I was so naive. I thought there was a penalty for perjury.
Yeah, you're shocked because most people don't find themselves in a situation in a courtroom. And you're in a courtroom and people are perjuring themselves one after the other, and you think, well, isn't this against the law? But you find out that it isn't exactly what you think. Yes, it's against the law technically, but nobody does anything about it. It was very interesting. I found the whole thing an interesting and amusing experience in many ways, and only because I had already, as I said, done so many movies and had accumulated enough personal financial resources so that I wasn't hurt by it. But if I was 40 or 50 or 30 or something, it would have been very, very painful. But at the point that it happened,
But you're still,
it just wasn't.
You're still
and I'm
getting-
not nasty.
I mean, I remember once I got a DUI, which is not nearly what you went through. But, they make you go through a 14-week program and go to AA meetings, and you are entrapped into the criminal justice system, again, at a very low level. But even at that level, I was like, whoa, this is awful. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of people who love it that they just have complete power over you and whatever you do, because now you're in the system. This system, it gives you a great insight into what it must be like, for Black Americans who are at the shitty end of the justice system for their whole existence.
Yes, but I was lucky because
I am saying, but it gives you an insight when you see the justice system up close.
Yes,
It's sobering.
right. But fortunately, I was never really in the system because I was never charged.
Of course you were. There were 2 police investigations.
Yes, but I was never charged with anything. I was found.
I know, but that would
it
make
was
me.
found that nothing ever happened.
I know,
in both investigations. So I never really suffered as much as you might think. But I will say, it was fortunate. It came at a fortunate time in my life because I didn't have to worry about money, and I didn't have to worry about making films. I made them, and
Well, you were much younger when those 2 police investigations were going on. I would be shitting in my pants if the police were investigating me.
Not if if you're innocent.
Yeah, except innocent people sometimes don't get. I mean, humans are making these judgment calls, and we know what we think of humans.
I don't think much of humans, but I do have great faith in evidence. So I never for a second had a bad moment because I felt it was kind of amusing to turn on the television set and see people talking about it when I knew what the situation was in there.
So you have no bitterness toward the people who renounced you? I mean, there are some people who defended you, like Scarlett Johansson, and, well, me, but I'm not in movies, Alec Baldwin, all your ex-lovers. Diane Keaton.
These are people that just made a mistake. I'm not criticizing them.
The renouncers?
They think or thought, whatever the occasion was, that they were doing the right thing, but they were not.
No, they didn't. They're cowards. Are you kidding? Timothy Chalamet, look, he's a great actor. I'm not trying to pick a fight with him, not that he would care. But, I saw him on his campaign for the Dylan movie, which he was incredible in. But this boy wants an Oscar more than his next breath. He'd throw his mother under the bus, okay? So I can't, quite sit back as well as you can with this equanimity and say, or Greta Gerwig, who renounced you, and, I'm so sorry I worked with him. Okay, she's a big movie director.
They're making a mistake. They're not. First of all, I've had a good time working with both of them, and they think that they're doing something honorable or helpful, but they're not. They guessed wrong. They made a wrong decision on that. Someday, maybe they'll realize it. Maybe it will be clear to them for whatever reason. Maybe it never will be. But that's all that they've done is made a mistake.
But it's just, they're such sheep. You know, it's like, look, the press loves to anoint people. You were anointed for a long time. You were the most anointed person. I mean, the New York Times was always, you were the greatest thing ever. And you were making great movies.
The issue is it never resonated with me. I just worked and did my movies, and the marriage was great. And, it hasn't had a practical impact on me.
You made a movie recently. Can we? Is that it?
Well, I've written a novel recently.
People see television more. When you do a movie and it goes right to streaming, who cares? Who cares if you make them go to the movie theater? If they see it in their home, isn't it more important?
I don't know. I grew up in making movies, and they went into movie theaters, and it was a different phenomenon. I'm not happy with them going to screenings, and I just don't, streaming, I'm sorry. It just doesn't interest me that much, so I don't care,
But people see it. More people will see it.
Yeah, more people see it, but that's not how I wanted to present it. I want to present it in a movie theater, on a screen, the way I grew up watching movies. And if I can't, I don't think I want to make movies. I want to write novels or plays.
Because you think the communal experience of a theater is important.
Yeah, the whole gestalt of the thing, the whole, waiting online and going in with a lot of people and sitting down with 500 people or 400 people and watching it together, and then, yeah, they're not isolated, everybody isolated watching a movie at home.
But this is a civilization gone with the wind. Right. I mean, that civilization.
Yeah. And so I'm happy to, make a movie maybe, but not thrilled with it. The excitement is gone. So that's why I wrote this novel. It was fun for me to write a novel, and it would be fun for me to write a couple of plays. I have a play that's in Europe that's going to come to the United States. It's more interesting to me to stand in the back of a theater and watch.
Do your kids ever argue with you about stuff like this? Your kids are like grown now, right?
Yeah,
but they're young adults.
26.
They're what?
They're 26. I have two daughters who are 26.
Okay. Do they argue with you about stuff like this? Do they, is it the typical dad, gotta get with the...
No, they don't. I didn't raise them as, show business kids or movie kids. I didn't show them my movies. Eventually they caught up with a couple of them, but no, they're, no, they don't argue with me. They argue with me about a lot of things, but not that. Mm-mm.
What movies of yours do they like?
Don't say it again?
What movies of yours do they like?
Yeah, I don't know.
Really? That didn't come up with your own kids?
No, because I don't know which one. They've seen some of my movies, but I don't know which ones they've seen. I've never, I never visited that on them. They're two New York kids. They've gone to school in New York, and one works in the art world, the art gallery, and another one works in Emily in Paris, but I never pushed them in any way. I have a very, nice, warm, loving relationship with them, and I never wanted to inflict, you gotta watch your father's movies, or actually, the only movie I really ever inflicted on them, and it's not an infliction, it's a treat, was The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I want them to see, because I find that to be a great American movie. And I showed that to them, and they liked it.
Well, I will put that on my list with The Bicycle Thief.
You never saw that?
I may have seen that. Is that Humphrey Bogart?
Yeah.
Okay. And Casablanca, do we like that one?
you know, I'm not nuts about Casablanca. I mean,
But you wrote the movie that's a parody.
I know, but see, people always associate these things with my life. I wrote because I thought I'd get jokes for it, the same way in Manhattan. I thought I'd get jokes with the older guy and the younger woman. And I thought in the Play It Again, Sam, I would get laughs doing stuff bouncing off Casablanca. But you know, the lady who used to write for the New York Times wrote a book about Casablanca. She was a critic for the New York Times, or a feature writer, and she wrote a book about Casablanca, and she called me. And I said, you know, I've never really sat through the whole picture. And she couldn't believe it. And
What part made you drop off?
I lost interest. I lost interest in it. And I'm a great Humphrey Bogart fan. I mean, I really crazy.
Except for his movie? Except for his movies?
No.
What other bogey movie do you like?
Oh, I loved High Sierra, and I loved Key Largo, and I loved the Tane Mutiny, and you know, there's something really New Yorky about him. I mean, he's really
came from New York theater. I mean, he was that first generation of actors who had come from the theater, but most of them failed because they were theater actors. And Bogey understood the medium, you know?
Yeah, he just had it. You can see, you know, you see him in scenes. I saw him in a scene, I can't remember who it was, just last week in some movie on Turner Classic Movies, and the guy with him, it was The Harder They Fall. And Rod Steiger was acting with them. They were nose-to-nose acting, and Steiger was acting up a storm. And Bogart wasn't doing anything, and it was just great. He was just, you know, there was no acting at all. He was just coasting on his personality and talking, and it was just magnetic, just wonderful. The other guy's doing stuff that nobody in life ever does. Nobody talks like that. Nobody carries on like that. But
so your advice to kids getting into the business is coast on your personality?
It's do less. If I've given one direction more than any other in my whole life to actors, it's do less. Don't.
So when you did decide to have a surrogate, shall we call that, play you, because there are parts you could have played.
Oh yeah, sure.
And you chose John Cusack, or you chose Kenneth Branagh, or you chose Mia. Why? Like, why did you some of the time say, I'm going to do it, and then some of the time say, I'm going to have a surrogate deliver this baby?
I don't think I ever had a surrogate when I could have done it. I mean, I don't think I could have played, you know, these are great actors you're talking about. Cusack's wonderful, and Kenneth Branagh's wonderful. And they were much younger than me. I couldn't have, if I could have done it, I would have done it. I always would do the part that I could do. But I aged out of it. You know, I just, when I started to realize that I was not going to be the love interest anymore, then I started to think,
you're the love interest in your life. With all the craziness and the Kafka-esque nonsense you went through, and I don't defend you because I'm a fan, although I plainly am, although you've also made some turkeys, that's true. But you could be the worst filmmaker. I defend you because I don't like witch hunts. They're bad for society, they're bad for people, they're wrong, they're immoral. That's why I do it. Not because I'm a fan.
I'm sure, your persona is much more socially engaged, much more politically engaged. So an issue, you would engage the issue on the merits of the issue.
Yes, and I see a connection between a lot of where the left went that I did not like in recent years and this kind of case, this kind of moralizing, this kind of bullshit standing apart from the facts, just wanting to look like we're the good people and we shun this person and this person is canceled and that kind of stuff. I don't like it in any of its dimensions. Look, I always say about these cases, if you're not in the room, just don't say to me, I know. You don't know. I don't know about you. Nobody knows except you. I would just say that of all those kind of cases, the preponderance of evidence on the one side makes it just very unlikely that you were guilty of this. It just, none of it makes sense.
You know, I want to make one other point on what you were saying a moment ago. There's a difference between the Me Too movement and cancel culture. I mean, the Me Too movement, for whatever value it had in terms of advancing women's rights, is a valuable thing. Cancel culture is a totally different phenomenon. It may be related to it, it may have been utilized by it, or by various, it's been utilized by various, but cancel culture is a pernicious thing, and you know, it's quite a bad thing. But in terms of, I always feel if you're going to be canceled by a culture, this is the culture to be canceled by.
Yes, it's
you know, I mean, this is not a culture that we can be proud of.
Right.
But there is a big difference. The Me Too movement may have helped women in many ways, and that's to the good.
To the good.
But the concept of canceling people is not.
But I mean, went too far.
It's not a good thing in any area. I mean, forget about women, or you know, in terms of politics, in terms of you know, the McCarthy era. Cancellation is I mean, it's just not a way to deal with issues. It doesn't serve any purpose.
But all of this has not turned you into a Trumper.
Probably
Trumper.
A Trumper? No, I'm not a Trumper. I'm one of the few people who can say he directed Trump. I directed Trump in a movie.
No. Celebrity?
Yes, in Celebrity. And
okay.
He was, you know, he was a pleasure to work with and a very good actor. He was very polite.
How dare you?
Hit his mark and did everything correctly and had a real flair for show business.
If you think you were canceled before,
I could direct him now.
Oh.
If he would let me, if he would let me direct him now that he's president, I think I could do wonders. But he was very easy to work with and
no,
very,
yeah.
And very.
He's different in person, and when you say that, people who are just purely emotional get very upset, even though it's just the truth. We're just saying the truth.
Well, you know, I am a Democrat. I voted for Kamala Harris, and I, you know, take issue with him, you know, on 95% of the things, maybe 99%. But as an actor, as you know, he was very good. He was very convincing and very, you know, he has a charismatic quality as an actor. And I'm surprised he wanted to go into politics. Politics is nothing but headaches and critical decisions and agony. And this was a guy I used to see at the Knick games, and he liked to play golf, and he liked to judge beauty contests, and he liked to do things that were enjoyable and relaxing. And why anyone would want to suddenly have to deal with the issues of politics is beyond me. But apparently he doesn't mind.
But you don't think that going into politics is the ultimate acting job? I mean, that's the whole point about him being so different off stage. They got mad at me for saying this, is that it's an acting job, and they all do it to a degree. He just took it to like with everything with him, to the nth degree. But it is the ultimate acting job, being the president.
But that doesn't bother me. They all have to put on a certain patina for the public and all that. But I disagree with many of, I would say almost all, not all, but almost all of his politics, of his policies. But in terms, I can only judge, what I know from directing him in film, and he was, and he was pleasant to work with, and very professional, very polite to everyone, and very, But as I say, I would like to direct him now that he's president, and have him let me make the decisions.
Well,
but that's not going to happen.
I'll make a call. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming here to California, even though we have sun, horrible, terrible, wicked sun.
Yeah, the sun doesn't, well, it does kill me, actually.
It won't. It will actually help you if you just get a little sun.
I don't need that much vitamin D.
No, you do. You absolutely do need vitamin D.
Then I take it in a supplement, a little pill. I'll pop it in my orange juice.
Yeah, I don't think that can make up for all of what the sun itself has to do. The sun converts the vitamin D. So no matter how much you take, it has to be converted. I mean, this is the way it was designed by Jesus, Woody. And this is the world we live in here. I didn't make it. I'm just trying to tell you, we need a little sun. Let's do a little tanning.
Get a little sun.
Stay a day later. We'll go out. We'll do a little tanning, and then we'll go to Palm Springs and pick up some girls like Bob Hope.
Put on the lotion and lay back in the chair.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
And, you're a treasure for a reason, like I say. And the
Thank you very much.
It's out in paperback, right? Apropos of nothing, isn't that why we're here?
It must be. No, we were here because I have a novel coming out.
A novel?
A novel coming out in September called What's with Baum.
Okay.
And I was really here to promote the novel, but we never got to it.
Let's get to it.
No. I forced it in clumsily, but that's okay because it's not going to sell anyhow. So why waste your time?
I'm going to read it. No, it'll sell. You're Woody Allen. You can sell a book. You've been very, very... Thank you. Back to...
Bring your agent into Monday.com. Your Claude, ChatGPT, and Copilot.
Lofty thoughts. I know the one you love is Streetcar.
Streetcar, I love. Yes, I think it's a perfect work of art. A great play. Every line in it is superb. Every choice in it is superb. They lucked out in every way. They had a great director at the height of his powers. They had Marlon Brando at the height of his powers. I mean, it was just superb in every way.
But you also said in the book you relate to Blanche. That's who you are.
Yes, and that's going with what you were saying before. I really don't want realism. I want magic. And magic has appeared in many of my films.
Yes.
And I think there's no way out of this terrible mess that we're all in without some kind of magical solution. If without that, nothing is going to happen.
See, I would say that Purple Rose of Cairo might be a great movie because the ending of it's you're rooting for this happy ending that would please your heart, shall we say. But it has a better ending. It's the right ending.
It's the right ending.
It's the right ending. And that's why it's a brave choice, which maybe makes it a great movie because, well, it's been out 30 years. Can I tell the plot?
It's one of my better movies. I wouldn't call it great, but it is one of my better movies. And they did pressure me to change the ending.
Sure.
They had gone up to Boston to screen it.
Describe the plot. And I know you say you relate also to that character that Mia Farrow played in that. Hey, you ever try to pick a show on one of the 20 streaming services these days? You scroll for 40 minutes, watch 2 trailers, and somehow end up rewatching a sitcom from the 90s you've seen 75 times. It's the same thing when you're hiring. Too many resumes, too little patience. Everyone's passionate, driven, detail-oriented. Translation, I have a laptop and Googled best search terms for resumes.